Welcome to Purple Acorn live at SHRM 25, brought to you by VirgilHR. And I have, I would say, an old friend, Stephane Rivard, a fellow Canadian. He's the CEO of Hiring Branch. And I've been a big fan of Hiring Branch for a long time, so I'm excited that you were able to join us here. First of all, I want to know, what's your thoughts? First time at SHRM. What's your thoughts of SHRM?
Wow, it's quite impressive. I attend a lot of shows around the world, and I think SHRM is on a whole other scale. You know, to over 20,000 people, and the energy. I think what strikes me the most is the energy.
Yeah.
People are very enthused about being here.
Yeah, I found that different. Well, not as different from the other shows, but there's a different crowd from a lot of the HR shows that I go to. A lot of companies I've never seen before, and you have a booth here. How do you stand out? How many booths are there? Like I was walking through it. It took me like 20 minutes to walk from one section to the other. How does a company like yours stand out?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's 44 rows
Yeah.
of 44 rows of exhibitors. I think, from what I've noticed from other shows, people are curious.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of small booths compared to a lot of shows where you have there are some massive ones,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of little companies. I think, we have got a brand expert. I think we've got something that sticks out, and we're next to some really cool people. So we've got a lot of traffic, curious people.
I've heard there's a lot of fun activities around your booth, so I'll have to go check it out. But before we dig in deeper, I'm really curious for the audience, like, what is Hiring Branch? What do you guys do?
Yeah, it's a great question. What we do is that we've created a platform that uses AI, big buzzword, AI, to screen for candidates that perform. And I think what's a little bit different from a lot of companies out there is that we're using some really important linguistic templates. So we're doing it on a conversational base, based on deep research, and it correlates extremely well to high-performing employees, reduces retention.
So when we talk about AI, a lot of us, AI came into effect, maybe 2022, we saw ChatGPT for the first time. Then we've started seeing a lot of companies in this particular space saying AI enable, AI tool. But you've been building this for a really long time before AI was cool. So what's different from what you're doing compared to everything out there right now?
Yeah, I think we had, if we go back, we've been in the language space, working with, contact center, working with enterprise, customer service, anywhere around customer-facing jobs. And the AI came in at some point where we're looking at how people were hiring for high volume.
Yeah.
So they were using interviews, they were using behavioral, cognitive, and using language assessments to figure out people who had the best communication skills. And that was sort of where we began. And the AI came in, as Serge mentioned, we're Canadian. So we had a National Research Council of Canada grant.
Okay.
In 2018, we hired someone with a linguistics PhD and computer science PhD.
Let's dig in a little bit deeper of how it does it. So, like you talked about large volume. So let's use the example of contact centers, call centers, where they're hiring a lot of people. And like if you're looking into screening, first of all, you want them to be very proficient in the language or able to communicate with their potential clients, right? How does that flow? So how do companies use Hiring Branch in that sense? Like, is it before the process, before they interview them? Does it replace interviewing them? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think we have a variety of different customers who use it different ways.
Yeah.
What I can tell you where it works the best is that where you're using it at the top of the funnel.
Okay.
Yeah, so that works the best because you can really, using our approach, you can really hone in on the skills that you need.
Okay.
So that's where we see the best benefit for that.
So you started 2018, we're in 2025. Can you believe you've been building this for 7 years and you must be pretty rich by now? No. So how has it evolved? Because obviously when you're speaking to clients in 2018, 19, 20 during the pandemic, and now, like we talked about, like there's a lot more adoption when it comes to AI, but with adoption also comes a little bit of scrutiny. How are you approaching the marketplace and saying, okay, we're legit, we're doing this right? And I've seen some recent advertising that you have third-party compliance, and then we're looking at the example of Workday lawsuit, right, where they're leveraging AI in the hiring process, and there's potential bias, which is a concern with everything. How are you making sure that you are you're not causing any of this bias, and that you are not causing any potential concerns to the employers that you'll be working with, that a lawsuit will come to.
Right.
Like, how are you approaching that?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. What's unique about our approach is that what we're asking the candidates to do, when we evaluate the candidate, or the AI evaluates the candidate, we have no background information. We don't use video.
Okay.
And what you have to do is that you just have to demonstrate your skills by talking to an AI robot that will listen to you and listen to how you express, you listen to the soft skills you use, and make informed decisions about how you think. And I think that's really a novel approach. And at the end of the day, there are lots of research. It takes a tenth of a second for someone to make a decision on someone when you see them. And it's impossible for a human to be not biased. So I think by using our approach, you get to demonstrate your skills, and all of a sudden the recruiter has a report. Well, they have all these great skills. They're great active listener. They can paraphrase. Then they can interview accordingly. You've already broken that bias.
Yeah. So on that note, we actually did an exercise years ago now, a couple of years back, where I got interviewed by a recruiter, but I also got interviewed by your tool. And your tool was overwhelming that I should get hired, right? And if we look at and this was for a contact center type of role. Obviously, my communication skills can be good or decent, but I was a really good fit. As a recruiter, was not so sure. But I think a recruiter was being pretty hard on what the actual labor market looks out there. Are you finding that right now that this could speed up the process when it comes to that screening a lot quicker? Like to your earlier point, you're getting to that phase of, okay, I know they have the communication skills. Now I can just dig in deeper on culture fit or other elements of the hiring process. Is that the core of what you're trying to do here?
Yeah, I think that there's really two different core. I think one of them is really what you mentioned. Like, you're really finding the employees for your high volume roles, any customer facing roles for banking, wherever it may be. You're finding that you have the right skills that you're hiring for. And then afterward, the interview changes. Like, the interview becomes more, as you mentioned, cultural fit. You've already verified that they have the skills. So the time to hire is much better. And the added benefit is that you're hiring for quality. You already know they can do the job. And the candidate has been expectation because they've been talking to a virtual customer in the same role. So those are some of the benefits.
So I don't know if you can answer this, but I want to talk about this. This is a bigger topic in the space, because if you're talking to a lot of folks, there's a discussion that AI is not going to replace people in jobs, HR, recruiters, whatever role it is. Then if you talk to actual founders in Silicon Valley that are building these companies, they're not building it to really assist people. They're building it to replace certain roles. Right. Where do you stand? Do you think it's going to be a mixture of both? Because obviously, like, we're seeing it, it's having huge impact to a ton of roles, to the whole labor market. But where do you sit? Is it somewhere in the middle?
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. There's a lot of companies are pushing these out. And there are great examples in the market where that it doesn't always work. And so it depends. And I think, we can go anywhere with this conversation. I can say that AI can replace it. It doesn't replace it. There's companies in Europe, Klarna fired everybody in customer service. 8 months later, said, oops, I made a mistake. Article of Financial Times, say people are willing to wait half an hour to talk to a human. I think that probably what resonates the most with me. I think humans have in their nature, they want to talk to other humans. Yeah. And I think more and more is when you have a problem or you're in a sales process, you're going to talk to a human. If you got a simple problem, I'm happy to talk to a robot. I'm happy to do it myself. But at the end of the day, I think that's where it comes down to human behavior.
I agree. Much rather be speaking to you than an AI robot next to me. I might feel different in a couple of years. You never know as you adopt new things, but also got to put in perspective of a couple things in our space, because people that are applying for jobs want to get hired. And I'm not sure that they really care if they never spoke to a human, if the end results is they got hired. Because I could be in a position that I interviewed with 6 people, which happens a lot in this space, and I never hear back. I get ghosted at one particular point. specifically to like I guess the hiring and retention side of the space, do you feel that people will care if they never speak to a particular person and they do get the job? They're looking for the end result.
Yeah, again, I think I was in CCAP in the Philippines for a conference. I was speaking to Chris Ilea. He was talking about retention.
Okay.
And in retention has nothing to do about how much people get paid. It has nothing to do with the work. It has to do about a sense of belonging. So, at some point, the employee needs to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
The recruiter is still key. I think that if employees can get screened by an AI robot quickly to figure out if they're a fit, I think what's lacking right now is that we need to feedback. We need to give feedback to those candidates why you're a fit or why you're not a fit. But I still think that the recruiter has a really important role to play.
So you're in an interesting time. Obviously, this AI is being adopted. There's also a little bit of pushback because of compliance, where we talked about Workday. But we're seeing a lot of companies that are leveraging AI at this conference. I think I walked through the floor. I would say 70% have AI in their marketing. How do you, as a vendor in this space and trying to break through and work with your clients, how are you breaking through that noise? How do you differentiate yourself from all the other companies that have an AI solution that's screening in or screening out candidates?
Yeah, I think what's happening in the marketplace is that all these AI driven are using LLMs.
Yeah.
And LLMs are incredibly powerful, but they're also very generic. And when you're hiring, I think it's important to have a very niche vertical AI that focuses on the skills you're trying to hire. So how we do it is that exactly what we've done. We have a small language model, native AI designed for really focusing on soft skills and critical thinking skills based on 20 years of data and many, many years of research. So that's how we break in. And the other thing that's really, really important is that we focus on, we can focus on retention, we can focus on all those things, but it's the quality of hire. So when we work with customers, is that the quality of people that our AI engine recommends far outsees anything out there. And that's really how we break through.
Quality overall has been a big topic of discussion in our space, all right? And there's from quality of candidates coming in, which has been a challenge. But how do you measure and how do you work with your clients to measure that quality of candidates? Is it you're looking back a year after and you're like, okay, these people stayed. Like, what's your vision of quality?
Yeah, we don't wait a year. We wait, 90 days. We start doing it. A year's a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that our approach is that we constantly evaluate performance metrics. Okay. So we make sure that when someone is hired at the 90-day mark, we're working with Bell Canada. We just produced a report. They're very large. They have 15,000 contact center agents, sales, all kinds of different roles around the world. And using our approach over time, we reduced their attrition to 10% at the 90-day mark, which is like they're hiring thousands and thousands of people. And more importantly, at the 30-day mark, they're performing at the Q1 and Q2, quartile 1 and quartile 2 performance, which is unheard of. So these metrics are really important, but you can only do this if you're using a very focused approach by constantly analyzing performance reports. It's changing. AI is changing. People are changing. The roles are changing. You can't have a static approach and say in a year, well, we're still using the same models. This will not work.
Well, let's talk about that. So you mentioned LLMs, which large language model, and then what is the difference between an LLM and what you talked about, the small language model?
Yeah, so small language model is really focused on specifically the things you want to measure.
Okay.
So we want to measure everything that has to do around soft skills and critical thinking skills. And these soft skills, I'll just give you an example. It could be paraphrasing, building rapport. It could be empathy. And what we do is that our model is based on hundreds and hundreds of millions of responses from candidates that have responded to these scenarios in different industries. So it's very different if you're in banking, if you're in fundraising, if you're in loyalty, customer service. And those are then benchmarked, and those are how we approach. So that's what we mean by SLM. And native AI is really using that information to make sure that the algorithms are built around the roles you're hiring for.
So it's really hard to predict what's going to happen in the HR talent acquisition space in the next 5 years. I ask every guest that I speak to, I'm like, just give me your crystal ball. Like, what is this going to look like when it comes to hiring and leveraging tools like you have in the next couple of years, 5 years? Like, if we look at 2030, like what is hiring going to look like? Are humans still going to be involved? I think so, like we talked about earlier. But like where do you see it?
Yeah, that is a very good, like 2030 with AI, that's like, 400 years from now.
It feels like it.
It feels like it. I gain, trust, or I gain the inspiration from the fact that we've had other technological innovations in the past over and over again. From the wheel, humans will no longer be needed to build things. More humans were hired, employed to do this. Industrial age. So we had the steam engine. We don't need workers anymore. Every time there's a major innovation, more and more humans end up employed. Is AI different? I've read lots of articles that AI is very different.
Yeah.
It's possible, but you're still going to need consumers. You're going to, like, if you only have everything robots, who's going to shop at Walmart if they can't have a job?
Well, and that's the challenge in itself. Is like, where is it going to get to a point of, okay, I'm pushing back on this. I want real humans again in every part of the process. I don't think we'll get there because we've all seen the convenience of what AI can assist us. But I look at sales, I look at marketing, and we're seeing so many AI generated. And I know it's different from what you're doing, but just to give you that context of all these marketing and sales message, I'm like, I'd rather deal with a person, like that person that's actually going to physically call me.
Right.
It has a better chance of that AI generated LinkedIn message or email that I receive. Almost impossible to predict what that's going to look like and how the different generations are going to react to it as well. But I do have a question on just the evolution of AI, because if we go back to the early 2000s, there's a lot invested in building the infrastructure for the internet. Yeah. And a lot of these companies kind of went bust, right? Like we think about all the telecom providers that built all these pipelines, and they were just a little ahead of its time. And now it's great that they build that whole foundation because it's being leveraged to that point, like from 2010. Are we building the foundation of what AI is going to look like, not only work but overall in our lives right now? And 5 years from now, it's going to be so completely different, and we don't even know what to expect, what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I was listening to the CEO of NVIDIA, and he was talking about this new GPU rack mount that processes 138 terabytes per second, which is equivalent to the whole internet. So what is it going to look like? I don't know. But, back to the fact that as humans, you walk into a conference and you meet people, and if they're not authentic, what do? You don't want to talk to them. You want authentic experiences.
Yeah.
So if you're surrounded by, I still think that there'll be a play. Of course, AI, the best cases we see of AI being used is augmented. We work with different telcos. The AI is helping the employee to do the work. So I think there will be a continued process of that.
So what's next for Hiring Branch? What do you guys want to do in the next couple of years?
Well, we're going to develop more AI, like everybody out here. Yeah, we're just going into the full life cycle of a company, enterprise. Yeah. So it's constantly monitoring what's going on, informing the hiring decisions, helping the employees to do the better job. We've got some really sophisticated stuff that we're working on now. We're excited to be releasing it next year.
Tell me more. What are you building?
It's still confidential. So we're still at the stage. But you have to think about all the way from, analyzing what happens in the workforce, moving up the chain more into team leadership, workforce management, using conversational tools to be able to better inform your hiring decisions and better coach.
So 2018 to 2025, 7 years, still no gray hair.
Still no gray hair, yes.
That's impressive.
Back to says, made a lot of money. I think I've made a lot of experiences. Learned a lot, met some great people along the way. The road of an entrepreneur is a long and difficult road. Hey,
and this is not your first company.
No, it's not. I've had a few different startups in different worlds. So it's always fun. I love great challenges. And
has this experience been different than other startups that you've had in the past?
Yeah, for sure. It's I think it's the acceleration, and as you mentioned before, the noise. Yeah. The barrier to create a company now is like there is none.
Yeah.
I was talking to a
So
company.
funny, yeah.
There's 7 employees, and they've got 2.5 developers creating. And we've heard about the one-person billion-dollar startup. Last week, I heard about the 0-employee $1 million startup. It's like,
How is that even possible?
how is that even possible? They're creating these robots that goes around and looks what's viral, and then create a shopping experience for them, and it's all automated.
Oh, I don't know if I like this, Stephane. But anyway, I really appreciate what you guys are doing at Hiring Branch. I think everyone should check it out. But where can someone get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can reach me at on LinkedIn, or you can email me at Stephane@hiringbranch.com.
Stephane at Hiring Branch. So Stephane Rivard, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again. Enjoy the rest of the show. There's a lot going on. So on that note, thank you for joining us live at Purple Acorn at SHRM 25.